Hello and welcome to the next Supreme Commander Forge Alliance Forever faction tutorial. Elaxter said that he hopes that Cybern is going to be next. Well, Elaxter, you can always hope, but you can only hope for the best. And from the perspective of an Order player, Cybern is just not the best. So of course I put Seraphim second. This video is again going to be very simple, right? Just like the last one. And we are going to start by reducing the entire faction on one core concept. And for this we are taking a look at every unit individually, and we are going to derive what these units are good at, right? And we're going to start by taking a look at the next slide. Okay, actually let's not take a look at every unit individually and just derive our conclusion. We live in a post-truth era, so this is going to be fine. The Seraphim are the Defeat in Detail faction, right? So what is Defeat in Detail? I'm asking you, so you should know this. You can just watch the Defeat in Detail video for a demonstration. You can read the Wikipedia article, and you can also just memorize it from the many replay reviews I have been providing, in which I explained this concept over and over and over again. But if you want to hear it once more, so Defeat in Detail basically just means that your firepower is concentrated on a very small area, and your opponent has their firepower scattered across the entire map. So your small force, even though it may not have the global numeric advantage, is at least going to have the local numeric advantage, and this is how you win, right? So how are you, the Seraphim player, going to pull off a Defeat in Detail victory over your opponent? Well, basically you divide the battlefield into two areas. There's going to be an ACU area. This is where your ACU is and where the opponent's ACU is, and the two fight against each other. And there's going to be an area where the ACU is not, and your remaining units are going to fight against the remaining units of your enemy. So depending on the map size and layout, this may be different. So on Winter Duel, for example, you have a choke point in the center, your ACU goes there, and everything else also travels through the same middle. So there is not the ACU area, right? And on larger maps, you may have multiple areas in which the ACU is not. But this doesn't matter. You can apply this to any scale. Just mentally divide the map into these two areas and you're good. What is the next step? Well, different areas are going to get different armies. Your ACU area is going to get your ACU. You're going to upgrade it along the combat path. So for Seraphim, this means you get the cheaper of the two guns, the other one is not worth it. You get the first nano upgrade, you get the T2 upgrade, the T3 upgrade, and even later you get the second nano upgrade. Because your ACU is primarily a combat ACU and you want to use it as such. And the ACU area is also going to get some phobos, right? And the idea is the Seraphim ACU is the strongest combat ACU, and the Phobo is the strongest T1 artillery. So this combination is going to kill everything your opponent can possibly have in the ACU area. What about the other area, the not the ACU area? Well, you're going to build Ilshavos, and Ilshavos are the strongest T2 unit in the game, and you're also going to add Phobos, the strongest T1 arty in the game. And whatever your opponent is sending in the not the ACU area is going to be weaker than the Ilshis and the Phobos, right? So keep your units together, and you are going to get this Defeat in Detail advantage, right? Because your units have more firepower concentrated in a small area than your opponent's unit, right? It's important that you see the units I mentioned at least once. So on the left side we have the Phobo, which is actually called Zui, but nobody bothers pronouncing that. And the name Phobo comes from Fervor, the Aeon arty, and Lobo, the UEF arty. So the Fervor is known for its high frequency, and the Lobo is known for its high area damage. And when you build the Phobo, you are getting the advantages of both combined in a single unit. That also costs a little more, but this is why it's called Phobo, right? And this is how Seraphim concentrate a lot of firepower into a single high value unit, right? And on the right side we have the Ilshavo, also known as Ilshi if you're lazy. and some people also call it chicken. So Seraphim have the T4 experimental chicken bot, and they also have the small T2 chicken, right? And the small T2 chicken is basically a walking point defense. It's going to kill any enemy T2 unit in a 1 versus 1. It's also a little more costly than the other units, but this unit is how they get a T2 based defeat and detail advantage going, right? So burn these images into your eyes. These are the 2 units you want to memorize because they are the strongest units in the Seraphim military. So back to the slide from before once more. You want to have your combat upgraded ACU and your phobos in the ACU area, and you want to have the Ilshavos and the phobos in the not the ACU area. And everything in the ACU area is going to be stronger than what your opponent has, and everything that is in the not the ACU area is also going to be stronger than what your opponent has, because your firepower is concentrated in a small area, whereas the firepower of your opponent is spread out across many units, right? This is the idea. So to summarize this faction tutorial on Seraphim gameplay, what are you supposed to know? Well, first, there are never enough phobos. It's a great support unit, and you should keep spamming it throughout the entire game, no matter what tech level you are on and no matter what tech level your opponent is on. They are not going to become obsolete. Second, you should keep your ACU around their ACU, and third, you should keep your T2 land around their T2 land. Because what happens if their ACU is fighting against your T2 land? Well, it means they can easily overcharge your expensive Ilshavos. It's a lot of firepower and a lot of mass cost concentrated into a single unit, and you're going to lose that all, right, against the overcharge that doesn't cost anything for the opponent other than power. So this is going to hurt you a lot, and you cannot do anything about it. Other factions have long-range hoplites to avoid the enemy ACU. They have stealth generators to hide the units from the ACU. They have low-cost T2 units like UEF, right? Can build lots of pillars, and an overcharge or 2 are not going to hurt so much because after the overcharges, many pillars remain. Plus, if the UEF player has power overflow, they can choose to put it into power shields that protect their pillars further against overcharge. And of course, Aeon is usually going to skip T2 land, not going to build the many T2 units, and against a huge group of Aurora that is protected by power shields, a Seraphim ACU is not going to be super ideal, right? So the Seraphim ACU should instead target the enemy ACU, and the Seraphim land should target the enemy land. And this is how the Seraphim player is going to win both battles, by keeping things separate and exploiting this defeat and detail advantage. For this, it is going to be important that the Seraphim player keeps the initiative. So the Seraphim player has to pressure important expansions or fight around the base of the opponent so that the opponent is forced to react. As soon as the Seraphim player gives the opponent a lot of time to build up and tech up, the game is going to end in a very bad way for the Seraphim player. So make sure you keep the initiative, and the various support units are going to help you. So the entire T3 land arsenal, for example, for the Seraphim player, are units that are essentially designed to make a advanced nano ACU push work, right? So for example, the Arctic can kill the fire bases that are stopping you, the sniper bots can add lethal damage to the enemy ACU, and the T3 mobile shields are going to give you even more HP. The area T3 flak is also going to stop air units that try to snipe you, so you have a great mix that can add to your ACU push, right? And you have ACU upgrades for every stage, so I gave you the entire list of ACU upgrades that the Seraphim ACU has, and you should build them whenever you can do so, and while your opponent is taking up, you are upgrading your ACU accordingly. And even in the super late game, when you may think that your ACU is going to be vulnerable in the field, you have access to great overcharge support ACUs, and then you can simply scale up the firepower of your ACU by getting multiple. The Seraphim transports with additional slots make sure that every unit is right in the spot where it's supposed to be, You can ferry around your ACU, you can ferry around your 2 units, and later on you can also ferry around your support ACUs, so make sure to use those. So this is how Seraphim gameplay works. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something, and good luck, have fun, Seraphim players.